Oh my god, I look like a god dump truck. Oh my god. Finished the master's thesis after 2 years. And now I look like I've aged 100 years and I look like I've taken too many drugs. Wow, I need to get a little tan going on. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, sorry. I didn't want to start out the video like that, but I'm actually going to. Okay, so what have I been up to? You guys might find this to be interesting. I've got some notes because I want to stay on point here. So today I want to talk about everything I've been up to, specifically why this is relevant to you. We're going to talk about the French universal healthcare system. I was in the emergency room through that. And I'll break down specifically what the healthcare system was like, specifically for somebody who didn't have health insurance, believe it or not. You might think, well, it's a universal healthcare system. Well, there's a little caveat there. I'm going to give you my objective take there. Next, because I'm in France, which I'm going back to the US, which I'm very happy about, what it was like being here during the Russian invasion. I got to speak with Zelensky. That was a really cool experience. Next, got to talk to different White House officials about corruption during the intervention in Iraq and Afghanistan. I did that for my master's thesis. That was fascinating. Got to talk to different generals and stuff. I'll give you the behind the scenes idea about what they were exactly like as individuals. And then finally, I got to speak with Afghan Secret Service and Special Forces personnel as well. That was wild. A lot of them were unalived, unfortunately, before I could interview them. That was quite insane. But anyway, I'll give you a whole background picture about that, so I'm not just ranting like another YouTuber, but there's actually a qualitative substance that you're going to be able to get through this video as I continue on making consistent videos. Normally I'm a facts and stats kind of person, throwing out a lot of things about news and politics that isn't really covered in the news, but this one's just kind of gonna be more impromptu. Okay, first things first, universal healthcare system. So when I came to France, the theoretical idea obviously was, well, it's a universal healthcare system, so therefore I am obviously going to get healthcare. Well, not necessarily. So here's the thing. I was on a student visa. I was getting my master's, I just finished it. I'm gonna be going back to the US. I came to France because COVID closed all the different programs, and I just wanted to come to France just to see what it was like, so alas, here we are. Okay, so the student visa would give you theoretically healthcare. However, it is reliant on whether or not France actually recognizes their student visa to allow you to get the healthcare. Now that sounds like ridiculous, specifically from an American standpoint, where we might be thinking, no shit, that would be conducive towards giving you something like healthcare. If that's what's in their rules and you have it, why doesn't 2 + 2 = 4? Well, that's the thing. We don't really know why. And the significance is that if you are approved of a student visa, you have to take the visa and you have to give it to the French healthcare system and say, look, I have a visa. Therefore, you need to recognize it. But see, here's the thing. You need a specific form in order to do that. And if you don't have that specific form, if they just forgot to send it to you or just haven't gotten to it and it's still in processing, even though you're approved for the visa, you're never going to get this form. So then it runs into a lot of issues. As a result of that, even though it's a universal system, I did not have healthcare. And we can talk about all day about why this might be. There's also a potential fact that the French hate any sort of foreigners and they don't really want them to get universal healthcare as a result because they're worried that this might take away from their system, etc., etc. It's kind of a classic thing that you could probably just take a guess about what this entails and you're probably relatively right. Okay, so first things first. I was feeling like I was having a heart attack once upon a time. So back in 2020, during the pandemic, I had gotten the virus. Obviously, we can't really say the virus because we are on, this might be on YouTube or wherever. I got the virus. That sucked. I was misdiagnosed many times over, even though I had healthcare in the US. I came to France. It kept getting worse. I had something called pericarditis. It is an infection around your heart and your lungs. It is really bad, very uncomfortable. I'm going to save you the details. If you would like to look it up, you could please look it up. But essentially, the moment you get high blood pressure, it feels like you're going to have a heart attack. Because, not to botch the science, but as I'm like stuttering, trying to like think about how to simplify this, your heart doubles in size. I apologize to all the anatomy individuals out there or the people who are anatomically inclined. I'm going to botch this, but essentially your heart enlarges. There's a lot of inflammation around there. It's extremely painful and you could potentially die. Mine was not that severe, but it was bad. I had it for well over a year. I started the program back in 2021, so I had it about a year. and it was very mild symptoms, and it kept getting worse. During the master's degree, I had 9 classes. Believe it or not, 9 was over 30 credits. That's not a flex. It's not anything from an arrogant standpoint. None of us could do it. We just BS'd most of the classes and just focused on a handful and just try to make it work. They just thought that we should be able to handle it. But anyway, so it was about 2 o'clock at night. I had 2 Spaniard roommates. They said, you need to go to the emergency room. And I said, you're probably right. But here's the thing. I didn't have money for a taxi. That's going to be expensive. So I decided to walk. There's no other way. There's something called a metro, which is a train. Phenomenal system. Amazing. But it closes, I believe, at 12 o'clock at night. I could do an ambulance, but I don't have the money for that either. So I ended up walking about a half hour, hoping to baby Jesus that I don't end up unaliving on the process. So I get there. First thing I see is this poor innocent girl who was, I'm going to save you guys a lot of the details. She was essentially spitting out blood. Her teeth are everywhere into garbage. I don't know what happened. It looked like if somebody laid in a road and got hit by a car, that's probably what it looked like. So I said, okay, you can go in front of me in line. We're sitting there in line. I don't really know what to expect. Because their healthcare is not as funded in the US, et cetera, I'm trying to be as objective as possible. My bias is I'm for universal healthcare, so some of these things are going to pain me to say. But the infrastructure, not really impressive, not that great, very cluttered, the maintenance wasn't great, but the treatment was phenomenal, and it was fast. So I got there thinking I'm gonna die. I tell them, hi, my name is so-and-so. First I say, like, parlez-vous anglais? Like, do you speak English? And of course they're like, no English. So I said, okay, great. So I said in French, and then they pretended like they didn't acknowledge my French because I didn't have the correct accent. So at this point I'm ready to, like, I don't know if I can say this. Actually, I'm gonna save myself from the cussing. I was going to hit a respective person as a result of this. I was so frustrated, but I'd probably unalive myself on accident doing that. So in advance, what we did was my Spanish roommates know French. So I recorded their voice saying, hi, my name is Luis. I'm speaking on behalf of Zach. This is what his problems are. So I give it to them, and he has a good accent. And I knew that. So then I shoved the phone over, they listened to it, and they begrudgingly shooed me forward. This was kind of more of the secretaries, the securities. All these individuals were giving me incredibly hard time because I am a foreigner and they don't like foreigners. So I sit down. The doctors, though, they spoke English and they're all great. So I sit down, smells like vomit, everything's terrible. A lot of people, but people were coming in and out very quickly. So within 20 minutes, now normally in the US, I was in the emergency room many times throughout my life in the US, various injuries from different types of sporting things and for the virus as well. I was there for that. And it usually takes several hours. Everybody can probably vouch for me back in the States. It's kind of an average thought. Took me 20 minutes. Got in, it was amazing. Got treatment very quickly, and I didn't know how much this was going to cost me because I didn't have healthcare. So what they do there is that you have a flat rate. So they pay for you to walk through the door, any additional x-rays and whatever other tests they have. I would give you specifics, but I literally forgot the name of the test on the fly. I had like 4 different tests, blood work, x-rays, et cetera, saying what was wrong. After I got through all of that, they put me back in the waiting room. I waited for another about 40 minutes, and then I went in to take additional tests. They just wanted to make sure that I'm not going to unalive on the spot. So they had taken my blood, they checked my heart and all these other things in advance, and they said, okay, we know that you're not going to unalive right now on the spot. We're going to do further tests, but we have to wait for the rooms to clear. Okay, great. So I sat there about 40 minutes. It wasn't that bad. Got back in there, did all of the tests. They said, hey, you have pericarditis. We're going to put you on this treatment. You're going to get X amount. Essentially, I had to take 40 aspirin. It was 4 grams. 40 aspirin every single day. And that was for 3 months. And then it was 40 aspirin for about 2 weeks, and I had to slowly wean down from it. I ended up taking this god-awful amount of aspirin for about 8 months or so, maybe a little bit longer. It was horrendous, but there's not really any other good way to go about it. So I'm taking, with pericarditis, taking all these 9 classes and all these other things, trying to make it through. Now, the total bill, it was approximately $120 total without health insurance. $120. That's it. And it was technically in euros, but the euros equaled about $1 at this point, so you get the point. Okay, great. That's insane. That's it. So then from then on, you have every few months, I had a checkup appointment. The main issue I really have with their healthcare system is the fact that if you go to the doctor's office, you can't just go to, say, one doctor, get an x-ray right there on the spot in the same building. You have to set an appointment, meet with a doctor who gives you a prescription to get some sort of an x-ray. Then you have to take the x-ray, go pay for another copay, which is probably about 20 euros, go to a different area, a different day, get the x-ray, then take the x-ray, create another appointment to go back to the same guy or girl or whoever to get them to analyze that and give a prescription. Then you have to take the prescription, then you have to go to a pharmacy, which is located in usually a different area. Pharmacies are pretty much on every block, literally, and so you just go there, then you have to give them, pay them, then get the drugs, and then that's that. So it's a whole process. That was a pain, but no one's going bankrupt here for that. And I think that was very special. And I think that that's something that we could very well learn from in the States. And for those who might be thinking, well, how exactly would we get the money to be able to do these things? Listen, I don't even want to hear it. The US military budget is at over $800 billion every single year, okay? Some things like a driving pin, which costs, I think last time I checked, it was approximately about $15, a little driving pin. That costs approximately $2,400 in the US military because of things called no big contracts. Driving pins, by the way, are things that are located within rifles, if I remember this correctly, based on own personal experiences. So I don't really want to hear it. And after learning and doing a thesis on corruption in it during the US intervention, I also don't want to hear it. And given the fact that we are giving so much money to other countries, whether it be Ukraine, which I'm not going to make a political statement on that just yet, but just the amount of money, even though there's been many instances of corruption, specifically $300 million, or we have the other instances, the billions of dollars that are going to Israel, and I don't want to hear any excuses about the Iron Dome because that's $500 million. You get the point. So why can't we have this? Why can't we have this? That's my point with this section. Okay,